Kenya's in a debt crisis. What informs a crisis, first of all, before we see now how we got there?
Well, if you look at it from the lens that we are facing a debt crisis, I think it boils down to the stock of public debt that we have, which is right about 13 trillion as of June. So that was, as at the end of the last financial year, 13 trillion Kenya shillings. So that's also converting the external loans into the Kenya shillings equivalent. So you have the 13 trillion shillings. So it's split equally between the foreign denominated loans or debt and now the local currency denominated debt, 13 trillion. But now we have to continually service the debt. So we've got this 13 trillion, but we need to continually repay the debt, be it interest payments and also now paying off the debt. So from that perspective, looking at even the numbers, we are at close to 1.6 trillion in the current financial year's budget in terms of servicing the debt, in terms of the interest payments and also now the debt redemptions, no paying off the debts that are maturing. So I think from that lens, probably we may say that we have close to 25% of the overall budget going towards paying off the debt. There could be a scope of now reducing it, but now we have it at this point, 25% of the revenue of the total debt, total budget, now comprising of debt payments, interest payments, and also the redemptions for the debt. So to your question, I don't know whether that constitutes as a crisis, but if I may portray it that way, that's significant. We have a higher debt stock which needs to be serviced, but now as we service the debt, so it means that also a portion of the other expenditure items which are quite priority are now sort of pushed further.
So when you say higher debt stock, higher as compared to what? Higher debt stock to revenue and development or what? So
different ways of looking at it.
Okay.
So higher in the sense that if you look at the debt stock at 13 trillion against a GDP of around 18 trillion thereabout, so it's around 70% of GDP, which is quite high, considering that at some point you're at around 50% of debt to GDP ratio. So that's the relative high. We can also compare it in terms of the servicing of the debt. So the payments that we have, the interest payments as a component of revenue, that's right about 33%. The interest payments both on the foreign debt and the local currency debt as a percentage of revenue. And by revenue, this is now the ordinary revenue, tax revenue, and the non-tax revenue. So it's around 33%. But if there's another way of looking at it, if you compare what is normally tabulated on a monthly basis by Kenya Gazette issues, so right about the second or the third Fridays, there's this specific issue from Kenya Gazette which tracks what was the disbursements in the income the previous month, and also the payments expenditure, recurrent expenditure, development expenditure, and also part of it is now the public debt payments. So if you look at it from that, it's quite scary. The numbers are something around 70% of public debt, but that is interest payment and redemptions as a percentage of the revenue. So that's where it's a bit scary if you look at it that way. But the standard, if you look at different countries, they typically look at it, the interest payment as a percentage of the revenue, which is around 33%, which, well, may not paint the whole picture, but is still quite